11 American words that baffle British people. Hi, hello, and welcome to a new video of mine. Today we're gonna watch a video from the channel Lost in the Pond. I'm pretty sure you know it because it's a really big channel. I'm not subscribed to it yet. I thought I was subscribed. Okay. I have watched videos of this channel before and I know it's gonna be good and I know it's gonna be fun. And I am very curious what 11 American English words there are that baffle British people. Let's not talk for long, let's just jump straight into the video, shall we?
I've been doing this channel for 10 years, and because of that, I thought now would be a great time to celebrate, by looking back at some of those early videos. I apparently made a video looking at British words that baffle Americans.
It looks
If
so
I were to
young.
make that video today, how different would it be from those days when I was young and naive? Today, we're going to do a little bit of a twist and bring to you a sequel that is 10 years in the making. What is the sequel called? 11 American words that baffle British people. So, 10 years in, if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now.
Yeah, do that now.
In the meantime,
please.
let me throw some words
really
at
cool
you. We're
channel.
going to start this list with what to me is a very special word. It is aluminum. This is a word I've talked about way too much on this channel, but it has its pride and place in lists like this because it's kind of the royalty of British versus American word differences. Why is that, Lawrence? Because it's a rare example of a word that's both spelled differently and pronounced differently.
Aluminum. Aluminium.
Yeah, it's all fun and parties in my house, and the 10% of subscribers who watch my long forms as well as my YouTube shorts will know that the supposedly American English word aluminum originated in Britain. And the reason that I just mentioned this again is that I used to be one of those British people who just thought that Americans have to be different, even with elements of the periodic table. I'm not just talking about aluminum, consider the spelling of sulfur. And so I looked up some other words, one of which was gotten, the past participle of get. At least that's what it is here. Where I come from, the past participle of get is got.
I'm sorry, but I have to go back real quick before we go to the next word. He's really fast. So the way I would have spelled this word is aluminum if I had read it. I've never used it in the English language and I've never really heard it anywhere before. I guess because it's not really a word that is talked about very much. But I would have spelled it aluminum. But the other way, I think, sounds more German, to be honest. Okay, I've slowed down the speed in order to really hear what they're saying because it was really fast, to be honest. And let's listen to it again.
Aluminum.
Aluminum. Okay, that's the way I would have said it.
Aluminium.
Aluminium. Aluminum, aluminium. Okay, what is it called in German? Aluminium. So we tend to speak it more like the British people do. Aluminium. Aluminium. Yeah, I think that's more British than American. Let's continue.
Table. I'm not just talking about aluminum, consider the spelling of sulfur. And so I looked up some other words, one of which was gotten, the past participle of get. At least that's what it is here.
Gotten.
Where I come from, the past participle of get is got. For example, I've got older. As I've got older, Americans are more likely to say, I've gotten older.
Really?
And that's where the knee-jerk reaction comes in. Why are you making a word longer than it needs to be? Well, then I started to think about it a bit.
Unsurprisingly, it turns out that gotten, in this sense, originated in the very country that brought English to North America in the first place.
In other words, in England, we also used to widespreadly, that is an adverb that I may have just made up, use the word gotten. Americans continue to do it. We stopped doing it, and over time, forgot that we ever did it. Or should I say, we have forgotten that we ever did it. Now, admittedly, there are some American English words that baffled me at first that don't have a British.
Okay, before he starts talking about the next one, I didn't even know that was a thing. I am using one or the other version, depending on, I guess, the moment. I don't even have a rule for it, because I didn't even know there was a difference. Get, got, gotten. That's how I learned it in school. It's like get, got, gotten. Is that wrong then? Or can it be get, got? That sounds weird, to be honest. I think I like my version more of get, got, gotten. But whenever I talk, I'm not really precisely when it comes to grammar in English because I'm kind of mixing up several things, and for people who have watched this channel for longer, you might have noticed sometimes that sometimes my grammar is not 100% correct. However, that leads me to the use of the word got and gotten in different circumstances, I guess. Like, it really depends on the sentence that I want to say and the mood that I'm in. It doesn't make any sense. However, that's how it is.
Now, admittedly, there are some American English words that baffled me at first that don't have a British origin. Take, for example, all-purpose flour. What's all-purpose flour, Lawrence? Well, the quick answer is it is what the British call
plain flour.
But all-purpose flour is also a reminder that American English loves the word all. It shows up in all-timer, all-access backstage pass, all-wheel drive, all-in, all-pro, all-star, all-purpose cleaner. Not my fault, it's a bloody cardinal. All-American, and of course, all-purpose flour. And I think that specifically when it comes to words that we use to describe food products, that can be genuinely baffling. In my kitchen at first was an overwhelming experience, partly because I can't cook. Secondly, because you have to translate a lot of things. And I've included all-purpose flour on this list as opposed to many of the other food names because I'm currently out of it, and this will serve as a reminder to go to Aldi. Of course, while I'm busy navigating the demands of YouTube superstardom.
I'm sorry, before we get into the next thing. Oh, he has a KitchenAid. I have a KitchenAid too. Such a cool thing to have. Has nothing to do with the video, I'm sorry. However, all-purpose flour means plain flour. Is there none all-purpose flour then? Like flour that you can not use for everything? Because usually all sorts of flour would, to me, be usable in any circumstance. Whenever you want to bake something, you can take flour. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's just the way it is, but maybe, I mean, I don't bake that much, to be honest. But in Germany, it's like the flour is always named after the ingredient that's in it. So it's either wheat flour or rye flour or whatever ingredient is in there, that's what the flour is named after. And there is no universal flour name for it. You read the name of the flour and you know what's in it. And I think that's a good system, to be honest. Because if you call it an all-purpose flour, how do you know what's in it? You have to read the ingredient list, right? So you can't just pass by the aisle and just read it right away because it's printed very big. In Germany, it's printed very big. Wheat flour. And you know, okay, if I grab that one, there's wheat in it. And that's what the flour is made of. It's easier. I guess you should copy that from us, and we copy the license plate thing from you. I've watched that in another video and it was really fun.
I don't have a lot of time to put my cooking skills to the test, unless it's for a video and I'm getting paid. But on the whole, between the editing and trying not to melt in the Midwestern humidity, cooking from scratch just isn't happening.
That's where Factor 75 has quietly become my lifesaver. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to my door. And when I say fresh, I mean the kind of fresh where you heat them up in 2 minutes and somehow feel like you've cooked something gourmet. Their weekly menu gives me over 35 meal options, including calorie smart, keto, vegan and veggie, and more. And they even have 60+ add-ons, like these smoothies that help me reach my 5 a day before lunch.
I love that Factor is flexible too. I can skip a week if I travel or adjust my meal plan.
To be honest, I mean, I don't know about that company. I have never heard of that company. There are other companies in Germany who do the same thing. And for example, this is not sponsored, by the way, but they do the very same thing. And we bought their products when we were moving places because we didn't have a kitchen yet, but we had a microwave. So we bought their stuff and put everything into the microwave. And that's how we lived for 3 to 4 weeks before we actually got our new kitchen in our new apartment. So sometimes that's a really cool thing. Like I said, I don't know about the company. Never heard of them.
Even more meals the week after. Oh, and did I mention, Factor offsets 100% of its delivery emissions, which means that I can enjoy really tasty food guilt-free.
Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50LITP to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50LITP at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. The link is in my description. below.
Sun is up there and I'm sweating my arse off. And that's because I have never fully become acclimatized to the humidity of the Midwest, or to the fact that Americans say acclimated. Like, I thought America loved taking British words that have an ISE suffix and switching out for a Z. I thought that was your thing. Then I got here and realized it's more complex than that. Sometimes you'll just change the entire suffix, except again, the word acclimate is older than the word acclimatize. And the word acclimatize is used here, but in a different sense to do with the actual climate, though that one's baffling no more. Anyway, let's just rewind the tape to a few seconds ago when I said this. And switching out for a Z. I thought that was your thing. Now, I can get away with saying Z because I've lived here for 17 years and I'm a citizen now, but in my former life, the last letter of the alphabet would have been Z. And I wanted to point this difference out in this video because while it might be baffling to British people, I've noticed certain contexts in which British people do say Z. There aren't many people out there calling Beyonce's husband JZ, although Beyonce might, could be their thing, I don't know. And because American discourse seems to dominate the conversation around generations, as in the boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Gen Z,
some British people are instinctively pronouncing it the American way.
Our Gen Z, that's people under 27, kind of a bit workshop.
So, are we baffled by it, or do we just like to point out differences for clicks? I've just realised that's what I'm doing. Anyway, because my mind was in that area of the alphabet, it got me thinking about words that begin with the letter Z, Z. Suddenly, zipper entered my brain, and to my British viewers who are currently baffled by this word, a zipper is one of these things that helps to keep your clothes closed. By saying that after 4 whiskers. To my American viewers wondering,
wow, I love that. Look at that. Oh my gosh, where can I get this? Oh, I want to have that. Where can I buy it? And now there are other animals. I really need that in my life. I've never seen anything like it, but I need it. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I want to have that with different animals, and then I'm going to do my videos like that.
closed. By saying that after 4 whiskers. To my American viewers wondering, what on earth do you call this in Britain? It's just a zip. And the reason that I bring this up is that I think the word zipper, it sounds like something a child would say. As kids, you go on a roller coaster called a Big Dipper. You go swimming in flippers. And this all happens while you're a little nipper. So those are my 2 cents on that word.
I say
now,
zipper.
There's one word in American English that I am baffled by every single time I see it, and that word is realty. You can be driving along these streets here, or any street in America,
and you see this word on yard signs everywhere.
and it basically just means real estate. That's fine, except the thing that happens to me every time I see it, without fail, is I read it as the word reality.
And in American English, that word comes with many footnotes.
I think that real estate signs do this on purpose, because a lot of Americans tell me that when they visit Britain, they see similar signs that say to let, as in to rent or lease out a property. They see it, as do British people, as toilet.
And that should remind everybody of the power of I.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's go.
I've never seen these signs, to be honest, to let. I've seen realty signs everywhere in American movies. However, I've never seen a to let sign. But I would have read it as toilet as well. I gotta
Back to what I was
admit that.
talking about earlier when I said that Americans like to make some words longer than they need to be. Oftentimes this will present in words that could just be often. And I used to think that, oh, Americans that use oftentimes are just trying to sound important, clever, different to the rest of us. But if we look at history, and I think you know where I'm going with this, oftentimes was around in English before Europeans were around in America. In other words, oftentimes, much like gotten,
Was part of the English language in what is today Britain.
except at some point in history we caught up with the times and removed the suffix times, said it twice. In America it has stuck around, but I will acknowledge that there's a debate even here whether you should say the shortened version or the unnecessary word. Jaywalking is an interesting word because it's not a
Oftentimes, I'm sorry, just gotta look it up because I've never heard it before. Oh, so it's just a longer version of often. Often. Oftentimes. I had never heard that before. Jaywalking, yeah, I've heard jaywalking. What about jaywalking?
Walking is an interesting word because it's not a respelling of a British word. It's not an alternate to a British word. It's a word for which there is no equivalent in British English.
And that's because the UK doesn't have laws prohibiting road crossing at non-designated spots, except on motorways unless you're an idiot.
America was at the forefront of the automobile industry,
Lex, you're
lobbied
an
hard
idiot.
to have legislation passed against people that would jaywalk, in other words, that would cross the road at parts that aren't designated for crossing. And it just became a part of the legal language of the United States in a way that British people don't have to worry about.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you
of
get a
getting in
medal for
trouble,
that.
America has a word for con artist or swindler that I'd never heard before, and that word is grifter.
Grifter.
This word has been used about all sorts of Americans, from business moguls to former reality TV hosts to presidents. And when I first heard it, I got the complete wrong end of the stick, and I think it's because it sounds like the word grafter. So when I hear sentences like he or she is a grifter, at first I thought, oh, so they work extra hard. And language gets you like that, whether it's a word on the sign that's subtly missing the letter I, or an established word that suddenly has an I.
The eye again. I've heard the word grifter, and that's due to me being a gamer. Because in gaming, you're calling people grifter like almost all the time, even if you're a German. And I thought that very same thing, just like he did when I heard that word for the first time. Okay, so my editing program just crashed because there was no space on my hard drive anymore. So I kind of forgot what I was about to say, but I think it was something along the lines of, when I heard the word grifter before, like for the very first time, I had the same thought then what he said in this video. I thought it was a person that's like grifting, like doing something very special and really putting work into things, and like grifting in terms of looting very much in a video game and trying to get somewhere with the character and trying to be the best in the game. That's what I thought. And then I found out in gaming and in general, it's usually a negative word. I really thought it was a positive one, and then I found out no, it's actually nothing you want to be called. Okay, let's continue with the video now that my program is running again.
Finally, sherbet. As somebody who was born and raised in Britain, I always knew sherbet to be a powder and not the kind that Uncle Toby used to push on me at New Year's Eve. Instead, it's a fizzy powder
Sherbet.
that's primarily used for dipping licorice and lollipops. When I described this to my American wife, she said it sounded like the American brand Fun Dip. And after moving to the United States, I found out that sherbet here is a completely different thing. How best to describe it?
It's basically sorbet, but with dairy.
So what's going on?
It turns out
I
that both
have
sherbet
never heard
and
of that
sorbet
before.
have their origins in the Arabic word sariba, meaning to drink. And Americans have oftentimes gotten into the habit of sounding out an extra R in the final syllable. In fact, I recently found out that an alternative spelling exists in American English to reflect this.
The word carries a pretty rare distinction. It is one of the few in the English language whose spelling, meaning, and pronunciation differ.
On either side of the pond.
And since that piece of trivia is what I always finish with at my wild parties, that concludes this list. If you haven't done so already, leave a comment below that starts with, Lawrence, you forgot about, and then insert a list of words. And once you've done that, here are 11 words I now pronounce the American way. You'll watch that video next. And until the next video, goodbye.
He's so funny. He's so funny. I really loved that video. Go and watch that video, by the way, if you think that channel is cool, and subscribe and like and comment on his channel. Also mine if you want to. However, this video was really cool. I enjoyed it so much. I have learned new things, which is why I'm watching these videos. I have never heard of that last word he talked about. Never ever in my life. Neither in America or in the UK. I never ever have heard of that. But it's something very specific, so I guess that's why. Thank you so much for watching this video together with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye!